Freedom to Change. Radio broadcast from 1965 by Paul Harvey. All right.
Now then, what makes a nation strong? Taxes? There's nothing new about those either. The first income tax was paid by Abraham. It was written on a rock by the hand of divinity and handed to Moses at the top of Mount Sinai. And you might want to remember this. It was at the flat rate of 10%. It promised the wrath of God on anybody who tampered with or violated that law. Christ was born in Bethlehem because Joseph was on his way to pay his taxes. Joseph was a relatively well-to-do landowner of the house and lineage of David. Yet the taxes exacted by Caesar Augustus were so exorbitant that he didn't have enough money left over to employ a trusted messenger for the mission, so though his wife was great with child, he made the journey himself. And Christ was born in Bethlehem because Joseph was on his way to pay his taxes. And Christ was born in a manger because there was a housing shortage when he got there. Our problems are not new. At Runnymede, the Magna Carta was handed to King John on the end of a sword, denying to royalty the right of unlimited taxation. Yet you know it was for us, the American people, to become the first in recorded history ever voluntarily to surrender our rights to private property. Oh, yes, we did. With an innocent-sounding constitutional amendment, the 16th, which says that Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, and we forgot to put any limit on the extent to which we could tax ourselves. Conceivably, we could be taxed out of all private property. We could be taxed not 70%.
Born free, taxed to death.
80%, 90%, but 100%. We could awaken one morning and find that the government owns the farm and the house and the car and has a mortgage on the church, legally. Historically, whenever any nation has taxed its people more than 25% of their national income, initiative was destroyed and that nation was headed for economic eclipse. Presently, the American people are being taxed 33% of their total income. History says we'll roll forward on momentum for a little while, but we'd better get some more gas in the tank pretty quick. You see, ours is not the first by George good government to arise on the world stage. There have been several. Rome, and Spain, and Greece, and China, and each enjoyed about 150 years at its zenith. That's just about our time in the New World. And then each decayed away. Not one of them was ever destroyed by anybody else's marching legions. Each rotted away, morally, socially, culturally, economically, simultaneously.
Sounds familiar, huh? Sounds real familiar. Sheesh.
You know, one of the most cruel paradoxes of history is this. Because each was a good government, it bore bountiful fruit. And when it bore bountiful fruit, the people got fat. And when they got fat, they got lazy. When they got lazy, they began to want to absolve themselves of personal responsibility and turn over to government to do for them things which traditionally they had been doing for themselves. At first, there appears to be nothing wrong in asking government to perform some extra service for you, but if you ask government for extra services, government, in order to perform its increasing function, has to get bigger, right? And as government gets bigger, in order to support its increasing size, it has to what? Tax the individual more. So the individual gets littler. And to collect the increased taxes requires more tax collectors, so the government gets bigger, and in order to pay the additional tax collectors, it has to tax the individual more, so the government gets bigger and the individual gets littler. And the government gets bigger and the individual gets littler until the government is all-powerful. The individual is hardly anything at all. The government is all-powerful. The people are cattle. Now, some believe that the need is for a vigorous, strong man to arise on the scene, to regulate and regiment the affairs of men. Yet history tells us there have been several such. Once upon a time, there was a nation great and powerful and good. She was suffering from the aftermath of war, from a depression. And then came upon the scene a leader, an idealist, self-confident, intolerant of criticism. Wisely, he limited his early activities to combating the financial depression. Nobody could argue with that. But in a while, he began to regulate business.
What did that
the financial depression, nobody could argue with that.
Jobless men keep going. We can't take care of our own. Chamber of Commerce. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious.
But in a while, he began to regulate business and establish new rules to govern commerce and finance. Some of them in diametrical disagreement with the God-made laws of supply and demand, but anybody who disagreed with those new rules was promptly fired. The new leader saw that under the old system of free enterprise, landlords prospered, so he levied new taxes to take away their profits and destroy what he called the monopoly of capital. To please laborers, he controlled prices. To win the favor of the farmers, he gave them loans and subsidies. The national debt mounted alarmingly. Whenever anybody tried to tell him that governments, even as people, can go broke when they spend beyond their incomes, he said they just didn't understand deficit finance. Well, what do you say? Did he build on rock or on sand? I say on sand. For you see, this was the story of Emperor Tsu Tungpo, who led China to its doom more than 1,000 years ago. I am satisfied with all my heart that if Uncle Sam ever does get whipped, here too, it will have been an inside job. It was internal decay. It was not external attack that destroyed the Roman Empire. Starting about 146 BC, internal conditions in Rome were characterized by a welter of class wars and conflicts, street brawls, corrupt governors, lack of personal integrity and moral responsibility. About 290 years after Christ, a Roman emperor named Diocletian took over. He really grabbed the bull by the horns. He took over.
You know, and I've talked about that before, how I feel that America will never be destroyed from anything outside of our borders. We're too powerful. We have too many weapons in this country to be destroyed from someone outside of our country. America will be destroyed from within, and that's unfortunately what we are seeing currently with our government. You know, I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, okay? I don't have any facts to back this up or anything like that, so don't hit me with no misinformation, all right? But I feel like our standard of living is intentionally being declined, right? When Joe gets up and says, you know, something crazy about gas prices. You know, gas prices were up when I took office, and now they're down over $1. Right? I think that's intentional. I don't think that's just, you know, his memory loss or him bumbling and stumbling. I think that stuff like that is intentional. Or when you hear these Biden administration folks talk about how great the economy is and people are doing fantastic. Right? I think that's intentional. To lower the standard. Gas prices were $2. In some cases, $1 and some change when Trump was in office. You'd be hard pressed to find $2 gas. I mean, if you got some $2 gas, let me know, okay? Let me know. I mean, it's just, and like I said, I think it's being done intentionally because the rest of the world at large doesn't live the way that we live here in America. I'm not saying there aren't places that are just as nice or even nicer than America, but for the most part, right, there's a standard of living difference between America and a good portion of the world. So you bring America down, right? You create internal turmoil within America. You destroy it from within. Because you can't destroy it from outside. If you attack America from outside, then you risk, one, being destroyed yourself in the process, but then also reuniting America. Bringing America back together to fight against a common enemy. And that's not what they want. They want us all bickering and fighting amongst each other and, you know, going back and forth and yelling and screaming and marching in the streets and burning down stuff and destroying our own things. Hating on each other, in my humble opinion. And unfortunately, so far, they're succeeding. But the tides are turning currently. And I've displayed some videos on that, some YouTube shorts. By the way, if you aren't watching my YouTube shorts, highly encourage you to do so. I think those are fantastic. I put in, I found some good shorts, okay, that I posted, okay? So definitely check those out. But yeah, y'all let me know your thoughts and your opinions on that in the comment section.
Over in a period of turmoil and severe depression, the first thing Diocletian did was call in the gold and close the banks and raise the taxes. He reduced the power of the Senate, delegated its power to a lot of little government bureaus. Do you know they even had a Transportation Act back there prescribing the fee required to rent one laden ass per mile, and at today's rate of exchange it would have amounted to about 1/8 cent per mile, which meant that in order to make a profit, a jackass would have to carry 5 passengers? That was simply beyond the capacity of the jackass. Diocletian put millions of people on the public payroll, but when this failed to do the job, the country was still in trouble. He asked more personal powers for himself. For a brief while, incidentally, they were standby powers, but then he used them all at once. He froze wages, he froze prices, he froze jobs, he stopped profits. He dictated to the farmer what he should plant, when and how he should sell it, and for how much, and he rationed food. And what happened? The labor market closed down. Incentive was gone. Farm life became dependent on bureaucratic red tape. Exorbitant taxes cost the farmer his land. He kept for himself only a small plot on which he might grow turnips for his family. He lost the rest of it to the state. And without food and with incentive gone, city life stagnated and declined. And Rome passed into what history has recorded as the Dark Ages, lasting 1,000 years. Just by turning to the left, the world has gone in circles. A nation would evolve from a monarchy into an oligarchy, from oligarchy to dictatorship, from dictatorship to bureaucracy, from bureaucracy to pure democracy. Hold
on, I want to read what this says. Count the number of American flags. Count the number of signs asking for government handouts. Tea Party, Washington, D.C. versus Occupy Wall Street. 0 arrested at all tea parties. 700 arrested at just one event. Holy cow. 700 in just one event.
From bureaucracy to pure democracy, where finally the people would cry out from the chaos and confusion of the streets, "Oh, please, God, give us a king," and God would give them a king, and they'd have a monarchy again and start the whole silly cycle anew. Now either we will profit from the errors of their ways, or it follows as the night the day.
A complete 6-course for 99 cents. My goodness. 99, bro. Is there anything you can buy these days for 99 cents? For $1? Is there anything? Y'all remember the little candy stores, you know, in certain places? That we used to have a candy store in the hood, and they used to sell like 50-cent bags of candy or $1 bags of candy, like be full of little candy. I don't even think they still sell those anymore. I haven't been there in forever, but I don't even think that's the thing anymore. 99-cent candy, 50-cent candy bags. Oh man, you know, hey, you know, as a kid we used to love them boys. You ain't got a whole lot of money. You got a little 50 cent. Get you a whole bag of candy. Oh yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You want some candy today? Yes. 50 cents. Here you go. Here you go. Man. Sheesh. And 99 cents? 6-course? Coffee? 1 cent a cup? Man. Boy, I tell you. The days.
Our children are going to have to relive the Dark Ages all over again. How come, after thousands of years of experiment, our new nation has come so far so fast? All this in less than 200 years. What is the secret of our success? Well, I think it had to do with a basic American's creed. Perhaps it never passed the pioneer's lips in this form, but if it had, I think he would have said something like this: I believe in my God, in my country, and in myself. I know that sounds like a trite, too simple thing to say, and yet it's a rare man today who will dare to stand up and say, I believe in my God and my country and in myself, and in that order. When the early American pioneer first turned his eyes toward the West, there were only Indian trails, or traces as they were called, for him to follow through the wilderness. Do you know today you can roller skate from Miami to Seattle? From San Diego to Plymouth Rock? In this little bitty instant, as
That's
historical time is measured, our 7% of the Earth's population has come to possess more than half of all the world's good things.
Beautiful pool. Big, nice house. Oh, yeah. Goals right there. Not with Joe Biden in office, though. You'll never be able to afford that with Joe Biden in office. It'll take you 100 years to get that. and even still, you scraping everything together. Oh, my goodness. Man, oh, man. Let's get back to the American dream, where this is actually realistic. You know, if you work hard, you put in the work. Now, I mean, you put in the work and you still will never get this. Like I said, you won't get it for 100 years. I mean, it's ridiculous. The American dream is dying. I won't say it's dead. It's definitely dying, though, with this administration, and it's dying at a very, very rapid rate. Very, very rapid rate. Because, like I said, I mean, there's not as much upward mobility with the cost of everything these days. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Any extra income, I mean, is going to... Man, I know y'all have. I was about to ask a really stupid question. But isn't it ridiculous how expensive groceries are and how little you get? Yeah, I remember you could fill up your cart. Could fill up your whole cart, $100. $100. Your cart is just full. I mean, bussin'. Now you got about 4 bags of groceries in it, and it's $1.15. And I'm like, yo, what the $115, I got 4 bags of groceries. 4 bags. I used to be able to fill up the whole cart and it was $100. This stuff is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Man.
How come? Well, sir, when that early pioneer turned his eyes toward the West, he didn't demand that somebody else look after him. He didn't demand a free education. He didn't demand a guaranteed rocking chair at eventide. He didn't demand that somebody else take care of him if he got ill or got old. There was an old-fashioned philosophy in those days that a man was supposed to provide for his own and for his own future. He didn't demand a maximum amount of money for a minimum amount of work. Nor did he expect pay for no work at all. Come to think of it, he didn't demand anything. That hard-handed pioneer just looked out there at the rolling plains, stretching away to the tall green mountains, and then lifted his eyes to the blue skies and said, "Thank you, God. Now I can take it from here."
Yes, sir.
Now, that spirit isn't dead in our country. It's dormant. It's been discredited in some circles, driven underground, but it isn't dead. It's just that a few seasons ago, politicians baiting their hooks with free barbecue and trading a Ponzi promise for votes began telling us, we don't want opportunity anymore, we want security. We don't want opportunity, they said, we want security. And they said it so often we came to believe them. We wanted security. And they gave us chains, and we were secure. Suddenly, with our constitutional guarantee...
we started to believe them. Then they gave us chains, and then we were secure. We were securely slaves to them. And look at this image right here. Look at this image right here. And ain't it the truth? I actually dropped a YouTube short on a young lady, shout out to her, who came to the realization that we are being taxed out the wazoo. I forgot exactly what she was saying, what she said, but it was something along the lines of, so my employer pays taxes on the money that I'm paid. Then I pay taxes on the money that I'm paid from my employer. And then when I go buy anything from the store, I have to pay taxes. And the person receiving that money then has to pay taxes. And it's just like, it's just like, come on. This stuff is getting ridiculous. Ridiculous. There should be a consumption tax only, in my humble opinion. Now, I don't know if the numbers will work when it comes to that because we're in so much debt as a nation. It probably wouldn't work if you cut taxes that drastically. But I do think that if you cut taxes to where the top tax bracket was 25% and you lowered everything else from there, like you had anybody making over, I don't know, $500,000 a year, you pay 25%, and everybody making less, pays a flat 10% or 5% tax rate. What y'all think about that? What y'all think? Sounds good to me. Sounds damn good. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's probably some math that isn't going to quite work with that because we have this going on and that going on, and you're going to have to cut a lot of programs, that's for sure. And I got a few in mind, Some of them happen to start with some of them happen to be spelled with, 3 letters, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, all the money that we're sending to other countries to help them out, hey, cut it off, cut it out. That's going to have to be cut out, all that stuff. But I'm in favor of that. Y'all let me know. How y'all feel about it?
He's depleted, with our national character eroding away, with our tax laws penalizing those who dare to prosper, with workers concentrating on how little they can get by with instead of how much they can produce. Suddenly we looked overhead one day to discover that the first tin moon in space was a Russian accomplishment, that free men dragging their feet had been outdistanced by slave workers dragging their chains, and we were sore afraid. Perhaps this was a disguised blessing, too. Maybe a dramatic accomplishment by this Cold War adversary was necessary to get us off our dead centers and back to work again. If we can revive in ourselves, then in our youth, something of that basic American's creed, the horizon has never, ever been so limitless. For man stands now on the threshold of his highest adventure of all, his first faltering footsteps into space. 20 years from today, half of the products you will be using in your everyday living aren't even in the dictionary yet. We've got it made. If we just keep on keeping on, we've got it made. And if we don't, we will follow those other great nation-states of history into the graveyard of ignominious oblivion. History promises only this for certain: we will get exactly what we deserve.
Man, on our current trajectory, yeah, we are heading for a national demise, in my estimation, in my humble opinion. We are heading for rock bottom. Terrible times, struggle, death, pain, and a lot of it. But as I said earlier, the tides are rapidly turning, and a lot more people are waking up to what's actually going on. I actually have a YouTube short that I may drop today where somebody else is waking up to, what's actually going on. And I'm seeing that a whole lot more now. A lot more people are like, yo, what is happening? What is going on? This stuff is ridiculous. You got cocaine in the White House, you got they lied about this and lied about that. Now we're getting charged out the wazoo for, gas and this and that. None of this happened when Uncle Trump was in office. Why is all of this happening now? Like, they keep telling us this, but no. Bring Uncle Trump back. And I'm loving every bit of people waking up. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And hopefully we can definitely, I assume we're going to be able to wake enough people up to turn this shit back in the right direction. Because the media is going to fight. They're going to continue to fight. They're going to try to spin, You know, all of this stuff is just, oh no, this is just normal. We're just going through blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, when Republicans or Uncle Trump tries to fix it, oh, he's a fascist, blah, blah, blah. And people aren't going to buy it. I do believe, I believe a majority of people won't buy it because they've ruined their own credibility. They've pushed too far. And, I truly believe that, yes, at the moment we are heading in the wrong direction. But the engines, you know, if you've ever seen a big boat, right? A big boat is you know, going in a certain direction in the water. You can't just instantly stop the boat, right? Even if you flip the direction of the propellers and, you know, you start trying to slow the, you know, get going in the opposite direction, the boat's not just going to instantly stop, right? You got to keep floating. Gonna keep floating, right? I think that's where we are currently. The engines have been flipped into reverse, but we're still floating in the wrong direction. Now, somebody could come along and flip them back in you know, forward gear or whatever it is, and we could, you know, keep going. But I think at the current moment, the engine is in reverse. We're still floating in the wrong direction, but very soon the boat will come to a stop and we'll flip it around and go back in the right direction. And I think that time will come in 2024 when Uncle Trump is announced the next president of the United States of America. That will be the moment that the boat officially stops and flips around and goes and starts going in the opposite direction. Because right now there was actually a recent poll that just came out. You know, among the swing states, Trump is up by 7 points. In the swing states, up 7 points outside the margin of error. Now, if you guys remember the video that I showed you guys probably 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, Joe Biden was winning in some polls, but those polls, it was all within the margin of error. Every single poll, it was Joe Biden by 4 or less. So right inside of that margin of error, they had Joe Biden winning by, right? And then the polls that Trump was winning, it was 6, 7, or 5. It was outside of the margin of error. And now you have these polls from swing states where it's even farther outside of the margin of error. He's up by 7 points, guys. 7. I think that tells you everything you need to know. Even in the swing states, Joe has no shot. We'll get this boat going in the right direction. But it's not time to let off the gas and celebrate. Like, no, we still have a long way to go. It's a long way until 2024. Anything could happen. Anything. As I'm sure most of you know better than me. I haven't even been in politics for very long. It's been less than 2 years, barely over a year at this point. So I'm sure you guys already know. So let's push the pedal to the metal, and let's utilize anything legal that we can do to ensure that Uncle Trump wins. Now, once again, I'm not advocating for anything illegal, but that includes talking to neighbors. That's legal. You can talk to neighbors, right? Have conversations with folks. There's more people that agree with us than the media would like us to believe. Peace and love, y'all. I'm out.